Echoes darkly.
This is Echoes Darkly, episode 14 for Saturday, February 16th. I am your host, DJ Allen, and this would have been the first subtitled Dark Library or Echoes Darkly Library, whatever I was going to call it before. But it's not. It's me on Echoes Darkly, another episode, so technically you're going to get one every week. Yay! So this is episode 14. This is a little over halfway, the halfway point for where Sean and I started with the podcast, Netcast, about roughly 6 months ago, I'd say, because we've done one every other week. I think we've only missed 1 week in that scenario, and we've been live every other week. This will be the first non-live Echoes Darkly that I can think of since the first one. I don't think the first one was live either, but that was before Google Plus on air, or Hangouts on air. Sorry. I'm doing this one pre-recorded because I have plans this weekend, and I wanted to still provide you what I wanted to provide you without cutting into those plans. So what I'd like to discuss now is going to be kind of disappointing, but I wanted to discuss the actual World of Darkness book, the core World of Darkness book. The reason I wanted to start with that one is it sets the basis for all the splats, which are the vampire, the werewolf. That's what for those of you not in the know, that's what we call the splats. You throw them on top of the World of Darkness. You create a mortal in the World of Darkness, but you add a splat when you do something supernatural. That's a better way to say it? I think so. Okay, so I wanted to start with the World of Darkness because it's where everything starts, and oddly enough, it's got the least bit of... I mean, it's got the mechanics in it, but it's not a lot of story. I mean, there's seeds for things, but it's trying to cover so much that it's hard to jam all that in there. So it's basically going to be the shortest of my reviews or investigations into these manuals because it's trying to cover so much, so it can't do a whole lot of anything. It's unfortunate, space limitations and all that, but I mean they've expanded it so much more with all these extra books like Second Sight and Mirrors and the Changing Breeds and the Tales of the 13th Precinct, yada yada yada. I mean they've expanded so much of it. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the core book without, delving into anything specific, just to get it out there and to kind of have somewhere to launch from. I don't have a plan to do any one splat line for a long period of time. So what I'm saying is, this is the World of Darkness Corebook one. I'm not necessarily going to do Second Sight, Tales of the 13th Precinct, The Changing Breeds, Armory, artifacts. I'm not going to do all those, and then once I've done all those, jump to Vampire, for instance, and do all the Vampire ones. I'm just going to jump around however I see fit. But I wanted to start at the beginning, if that makes sense. So this week, I wanted to talk about the World of Darkness Corebook. I'm gonna breeze over the mechanics section, the combat stuff, because it's sure, I can talk about rules, I can talk about dice pools, I can talk about the example combat in the book. I'm not going to. If you got no other book from White Wolf / Onyx Path or CCP or whatever they're calling themselves these days, out of the World of Darkness, if you got no other book, the World of Darkness Corebook would be the book that you would want to use because it's got enough in there to run anything. Sure, you don't have all the specifics for a vampire or a werewolf or ghost or whatever, but you've got enough in there to where it makes sense to run things. You've got enough to base things off of. Plus, you've got all the mechanics in there. The World of Darkness Corebook essentially sets up the whole world. It's a modern setting. It's still got it's a toolboxy thing, but it's a modern setting, slightly darker and dingier than ours, which I personally don't play that way. I mean, it's It's easier for me to say you're standing in front of the Empire State Building rather than saying you're standing in front of the Empire State Building. It's a little bit murky. It's got some cracks in it. It's got a lot of graffiti, and someone has thrown up the wall. I mean, it's just easier to say you're standing in front of the Empire State Building. Now, am I being as descriptive or as great with things as I could be? No, but I find that the players are more interested personally in the story that I've crafted to have them run in. Speaking of, tomorrow, as you're watching this, tomorrow will be the live Google Plus Hangouts Green Team group meeting. Hopefully I have a decent turnout, and we'll see how that goes. But wanted to put that out there. Sorry about the hat. I've been working all day. It's cold outside. That's why the beard is still here too. So I'm wearing a hat because my hair, although sparse, looks terrible. So the core book, it's got a lot of information in there. It gives you brief overtones of what's in this world on top of just being darker and dingier. It kind of says if it's a myth or a legend, it might actually be true. So you've got information about vampires. It's just a brief, small section. It explains vampires, but it doesn't say that they're the vampires from Vampire the Requiem. Same thing for the werewolves or other changing kinds. They don't say that they're the werewolves from Werewolf the Forsaken. You could actually set up your own brand of werewolves, your own brand of magic-using individuals instead of being mage-specific. There's also things in there for ghosts, which when I saw that initially, since everything's basically covered in a small section, I was hoping that the ghost meant Wraith was coming back, but we haven't seen that yet, but we can get into that in the future too. I'm not opposed to doing old World of Darkness stuff. At this point, I'm going to do new because we're in a new World of Darkness type world. So, but they've got that general information, but they've also got stuff in there that I personally wouldn't have thought about putting into this type of game. If I was running it, I wouldn't have thought without lots of consideration about putting this stuff in. So there are things like ESP users, astral projectors, my mind has gone blank. It's basically, they've got the cryptozoology thing going on, the Loch Ness thing, and the Bigfoot. I mean, they're opening it up, saying that sure, yes, we've got werewolves, yes, we've got vampires, yes, we've got mages, yes, we've got ghosts, but we've also got Bigfoot. We've also got a Yeti. Or do we actually have those things? We have the telekinesis using psychopaths. Or do we? They've opened it up. The Green Team game, which is another reason I guess I should have mentioned it, is basically using this core book. I'm not using any splat at this point. Will splats come into it? I don't know yet. I can't give that up. That's privileged information. And the only one privileged enough for that information right now is me. So there's a lot of stuff that you could put in the World of Darkness, and a lot of the additive books have added to that. So I mean, there's been a lot that you can work with. So the Second Sight, for instance, has given you more of an in-depth on the types of things I was mentioning, the ESP people, the clairvoyant ones, I haven't investigated it heavily, so I mean, forgive me if I'm not completely accurate here. I am concentrating on the core book after all, but I mean, it went into explaining and developing that particular offshoot. So in the future, I mean, I could definitely see how to make Bigfoot or other cryptozoological things. I have to say, on a side note, with the cryptozoology, a lot of people have a lot of weird ideas about the chupacabra. I've actually been to Puerto Rico, and I've talked to the natives when I was there, and the chupacabra has been described as everything from a vampire dog to a flying monkey. As I understand the chupacabra, it's like a bat monkey that doesn't fly, but it drains animals of blood. And it travels back and forth between Puerto Rico and the mainland in the far south, because it's got some sort of need for heat. But I wanted to mention that. I think I just found the show title, The Bat Monkey Thing. Anyway, that is what I've... Vendors on beaches sell chupacabra t-shirts. I used to own a chupacabra t-shirt. So, I mean, when I hear somebody explain the chupacabra in a stupid way, I just have to roll my eyes. It's just ridiculous. But back to the book. Tangent. Okay. So on top of the core rules and the little snippets that they give you there, the book really isn't more than that and little, like a fiction. Little fiction. I've never read the fiction in these books. I mean, I skip right over it. I don't even really look at it. But that's the type of person I am. I want to jump into the meat and potatoes of the book. I am highly interested, however, in the upcoming, or at least at this point, upcoming God Machine Chronicle. Now, there's the God Machine anthology that's out, fiction anthology, and I've been toying with the idea of getting it and toying with the idea of not getting it. At this point, I think that I'm going to go for it because I'm very interested in it. I thought I would be more interested in the Strix Chronicle, but between the two, I'm way more interested in the God Machine Chronicle, and I don't really know why. I've been a vampire player / runner for, well, you've heard many conversations about this, but close to 20 years now, and I just don't know. I want to try. I want to try doing non-vampire things. Vampire? Whatever. I want to try doing things other than vampire. And the God Machine Chronicle sounds good. Now, some of the art for the God Machine Chronicle anthology fiction stuff is in the World of Darkness Corebook, if I understand correctly, which leads me to believe, don't quote me on this, I haven't read anything specifically about it, leads me to believe that some of the fiction in that book, if you haven't read it, hints at the God Machine Chronicle, even though they didn't have really that concept at that point in time. So, I mean, that it would be nice to think that they took something they, just kind of a throwaway, let's throw this in the book because we always add fiction to the book, and then turn it into something big. I also understand that this is going to be sort of a rules revision, like they're going to add and change things. I don't read the White Wolf blogs, the developer blog. I did check it out the other day, and there's a lot of neat things that are getting done with mechanics and ideas about certain powers and things like that. And I was very interested to see it, but I'm still not going to follow the blog because I don't have the time. I need things to be read to me, and I can't really find an easy way to get that to happen. Now, I know that there is a way to do it, but I need to be able to pause and fast forward and things like that. And at this point, I haven't found an easy way to do that. So I'm still working on that. Unless you know of a way to have something read me in a voice that I can tolerate, because the generic voice on my computer is, I can tolerate it, but it's in short bursts because it really sounds choppy. But if it is true that that's a rules revision and taken out of the fiction, then I'm probably going to go back and read the fiction because that really interests me then. But the core book basically sets up everything. You can do anything in the World of Darkness with just that core book. If you don't buy any other book, buy the core book. The big blue book. I don't know if that's what people call it, but that's what I call it, the big blue book. And while I do have physical copies of, well, I do have a physical copy of the Big Blue Book, I actually prefer to use my digital copy. I also purchased the PDF, and I get way more activity out of my PDF than I do that book, which I've been contemplating giving away in a contest, my Big Blue Book, or my Big Blue Book and my Big Red Book, which is the Vampire the Requiem core book. We'll see. And if you're interested in it, definitely let me know at echoesdarkly@gmail.com. I'm sorry this one didn't have more substance. It like I said, I have some plans this weekend, and I needed to do something a lot sooner and do a lot more than I was originally planning, so I have to cut things a little short on this episode. But for the next episode on February 23rd, I am still trying to discuss things with Sean. It's, at this point, it doesn't sound highly likely that we'll be doing a live show, or I'll be doing a live show. It sounds like I'll be doing something like this. But if I'm doing this, I can do a lot more, just not now. There was too many things to explain happened, and it got time crunch. So I do want to thank you for joining me. I know it's a short episode. We'll get things better. MonkeyBat Thing. That's going to be the title, or I can tell you. Anyway, thank you for joining me, and I will have a different book next time. Especially if I'm doing a solo show, I might actually just do another book instead of talking about random stuff with myself. But I don't plan on announcing these things. I'm just going to kind of go with how I feel. But I do plan on doing a different book. It's looking like The Changing Breeds, or maybe I should go with Second Sight. I don't know. Or maybe I should go with Vampire. We'll see. We'll see how I feel. But thank you for joining me. If you want to throw some input my way, echoesdarkly@gmail.com. You can also use Trump's hair for president at gmail.com if you really want. You can find us on limeflavor.com. And from there, the official limeflavor.com channel on YouTube, on Google+, on Facebook. You can find us everywhere that way. So this is DJ Allen, echoing out.